Hey guys, welcome back. It's a warm, windy day here just before Easter, and we're just going to get started putting some 28% on our canola and get feeding that for the year. But we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to use our little tow behind sprayer with our gator, and the reason is this ground we're out in. So this canola here, you can see there's spots where it's just a touch thinner than the rest of the field, but when you step in with your heel, and I'm sinking an inch and a half. Just the weight of my boot and the way I walk on your heels, you get into spots where you just sink a bit too much. And if you look under that straw, we're still really damp. Even in spots in the canola, you can see the darkness. So this field is kind of soft, and we didn't get our floaters on our rogator, so we were concerned about compaction and sinking, and possibly like to the point of maybe getting stuck. So what we're gonna do is we've got our tow behind the gator. It is only 200-gallon tanks, or 200-gallon total, 220. We're going to split apply this. So we've got our the 7400s on our nurse wagon that we use for fertilizer. It is a cone bottom tank, and then our tote's full of fresh water for rinsing. We've got sulfur mixed in there, and then we'll add our boron to our sprayer as we mix. And we do use a nitrogen stabilizer called Excelis Max in our 28%. So this 28% is dyed like a kind of a royal blue. So we'll go ahead and get backed up and do that. So we add our boron. We put 4 liters roughly in. It's not an exact science. And then we're going to grab our gloves for our 28, and we'll start putting our 28 in. So I didn't quite put on what I would consider a full load. I'm only carrying, 90 and 90 in each tank. And the reason is we're just going to do the headlands and get started along the back, and I don't want a full load right out of the gate. So we're going to take this back, and these streamer bars, it's not an exact science. This doesn't have a flow meter or anything on it. It's just run it by pressure. We know where the orifices are set, and we'll run it by pressure and see how close we are. We do have a GPS to keep track of our acres, so we'll go get started at the back and see how we make it. Hey guys, I did turn the camera off for about 3 hours. It just, getting started wasn't as smooth as it should have been, which, go figure, for the first time. So there's about 3 hours you guys have missed. You honestly haven't missed much. Looking across the field, that's the edge of our field. That's as far as we've got in 3 hours. We had a couple tips break, and just trying to get our orifices figured out of different sizes, but we're running now. We've got the GPS. We're running about 7.5 at 38 feet wide, and about 40 pounds of pressure on our tips. And you can see the sprayers coming along behind us. The nice blue coming out of it is nice to be able to see, and those do put out a really nice stream. What I'll do is I'll set you guys down and get you a couple of action shots of what's going on. So we go from there. You guys can try to look. But this video is going to be kind of short and sweet. It is just a lot of steering. We don't have guidance on this gator, so it is all manual steering and kind of tough to hold the camera and talk to you guys. And there's a 2-inch Honda motor behind me screaming that just makes it tough for you guys to be able to hear what's going on. But the other thing I'll show you before we get done is we've got our plumbing all done on our nurse wagon that I did about 3 days before this. It was cold and windy. I didn't bother taking you guys along. You wouldn't have been able to hear me over the wind anyways, but I'll walk you through that when we get a minute too. So you can see some of the crop damage we had at the back here. And this is where I didn't quite clean the sprayer out as good as I should have. So we've got probably half an acre of damage sitting here, but nothing too major, but we know better for next year. So I figured I'd show you guys the plumbing we did on this trailer. So out of our cone bottom tank, we've got a 2-inch valve into a 4-way Y, or a 4-way, and what that does, our green continues on to our pump, and our blue is our discharge. And then we carry a 1,000-liter tote. Right now we're filling that full of water. We can pull out of that and shut our tank off and rinse with water. And then we also have a 2-inch out on this side of the quick connect that we use to fill, so we can shut our 2 valves off to our tote and our pump, open our valve to our tank, and put our 28 or whatever product we're pulling into there. So that 4-way's one of the handier things. And then what we'll do is we've got a product from Alpine, and that is a humic product we're going to mix in with this 28 that we put on the wheat today, and see what that does to help with our soil life and our soil health. So that's what our tank plumbing looks like. All redone this year so we can utilize liquid a little bit better. So we got to go get the sprayer out, and we got to fill the water tank on it for rinsing your hands and stuff, just a little bit of stuff. But we've got all of our Schaefer bars on, so it is a bit breezy today, and a little bit windier than I'd like, but the ground's fit and it's time to get 28 on. So we got to go ahead and get the rogator started and grease it and put fuel in it. Well, we'll see if she starts and see if we get a bit of a cold start out of her today. It's one of those machines she just doesn't like being in the cold with that Cummins motor in there, but always amusing to watch it get started. So we've got our 28 all on. All we've got to do now is we've got to unfold our booms, and we've got to get out and put our 2 tips on that have to come off when we fold up for our saddles. And then we're going to turn our Raven 466 on and get our rate programmed in and get our GPS pulled into this field. Here's a close-up of the Simon Innovation tank sense. So it says fresh water on there. That's just the tank name. So what it is, it's a weight sensor that goes in the bottom of our tank, and we can program that. You can see the density right there is 0.86. The nice thing about that is we can program that for 28, which is, I guess Simon already does it. It's pre-programmed for 28 or water, and that tells you exactly how much product is in our tank, and that'll start counting down as we apply product. So it is a nice way for us to measure out the field and know exactly what is in your spray tank. So we'll get it unfolded, we'll get our tips on, and then we'll show you guys the process of getting started with 28 here. Filling her up. So you can see we've also got the AccuVolume. The second screen is mounted down here where our pumps and where we fill at, so we can keep an eye from the ground. You can see the gallons coming up. So we can keep an eye on the ground. We can also run this sprayer from the ground. We can run our pump and our throttle, and we can pull product on if we wish. So we do everything down here, and just a lot easier, but it's a nice beautiful day for this. Explain to you guys why or what we're doing, I guess. Are you okay? Let's get you dusted off there. Hang on. Okay, let's try that. Hope you guys are okay there. So I'm going to explain to you why we're doing what we're doing today and the last couple days on our 2 winter crops. So we've been applying nitrogen or nitrate or whatever you want to call it. It is not ammonium nitrate, because that is a completely different product. That's the gas that everybody puts on. So ours is, we call it 28%, and what that means is in 1 gallon or 1 ton of liquid product, it's 28% nitrogen, which means there is 2.8 pounds per gallon of nitrogen in there. The rest of it is water, so the other 72% of that is water. We put that on, and the reason we do this is both winter wheat and winter canola are crops that respond very well to nitrogen. They both take a lot of nitrogen to grow. Wheat takes roughly a pound to the bushel to produce. So if you're looking for 100 pound or 100 bushel wheat, you're going to put on 100 pounds of 28%. That pencils out to like 40, something weird, like 42 gallons or 40 gallons right on. Canola, right now we're running about 140 pounds to the acre of nitrogen, and we're hoping that's going to produce just shy of a 2-ton crop. So it's a higher use rate of nitrogen, but nitrogen is highly leachable in the soil. It moves very easily with water. It also is very prone to what we call volatilization, which is when the sun hits it and basically it off gases and you can smell it. That's also, you're losing nitrogen there, and what that is the water's evaporating, it's taking nitrogen with it. So we do run a nitrogen stabilizer in our 28% to combat both the leaching and the volatilization. We also put sulfur with it. The reason we do that is we used to get sulfur from the rains. We basically called them acid rain, and that sulfur came from the coal power plants and everything, but since the government's cleaned those up and put scrubbers on, there's no more sulfur in the air, so now we're buying sulfur. And sulfur is just that nutrient that helps with your uptake of your other nutrients. So as a plant uptakes sulfur, it also brings in more nitrogen and uses it more efficiently. Now, the product we're using right now is from Can-Grow Crop Solutions in Ontario. And what it is, it's called Power Band, and it is 28% nitrogen. It's also got sulfate sulfur in it, which is the usable form of sulfur. It's got Bioline Gold, which is fulvic acid, which fulvic acid is very good at mobilizing nutrients for the plant, making it easy for the plant to uptake those nutrients. So it acts as a carrier. And then it also has liquid phosphorus in it, which in our cold temperatures right now, like it's 65 today, which is great, but they're talking another cool down this weekend. So phosphorus isn't available until that soil is like almost 60 degrees. So adding phosphorus onto this wheat will help just bring those nutrients in. It'll take that phosphorus in, it'll take your nitrogen, it'll take your sulfur. It'll just give you a healthier stand of wheat, and we're at the point this wheat is getting ready to set tiller. The tillers are set. Now you've got the option of, do you keep the tillers or do you abort the tillers? And that's basically a timing game. If you want to keep the tillers, you put nitrogen on now when this wheat's really little. If you want to abort the tillers, you wait till that wheat's got some stress under it, wait till it's kind of yellow, and when it does, that wheat decides that it cannot keep those tillers and produce on them, so it aborts those tillers. There's two ways of looking at it, of how you want to do it. We always end up going a little bit earlier and trying to keep those tillers. It fills the crop in better and helps your weed suppression. But that's why we do what we do, is instead of putting this nitrogen on in the fall or just using straight urea that isn't very efficient, we switched to 28%. We put it on in the spring when this crop's really going to start using this nitrogen in the next month. Nitrogen is your nutrient that is your leafy vegetative growth. So this wheat right now is like 2 inches tall, and we're going to go to 1.5 feet. So we've got a lot of growing to do, which that's going to take a lot of nutrients and a lot of energy into that plant. So we spruce it up with some nitrogen. So that's why we do what we do right now with nitrogen, is we're trying to be efficient. We're trying to be good to the environment of putting this nitrogen on at the time the crop needs it, in the form that it needs it, with a stabilizer, and applying it. We've got a small rain coming in a couple days. A nice half-inch of rain would soak this nitrogen down into the root zone. But that's why we're doing nitrogen this time of year on winter cereals. So I hope that answers everybody's questions of why we spend so much time in our crop this time of year. Like, we're only running 7.5 miles an hour, putting on 45 gallons to the acre. So it is slow. We fill up every round at the end of the field. So we're 90 feet wide there and back. Fields are 3,000 feet long, so we are filling up at every round. It is time consuming, but at the end of the day, it's well worth it. I'm not going to tell you guys how long I was just looking for you, because I thought you were on a different window than you actually were, but enjoy the view. We'll watch some Schaefer bars put on some 28%. Hey guys, we're on our last round, or our last pass of 20% on the white winter wheat. This is going to be made into Oreos. We've got a contract with Kraft Canada, and this white wheat is used for baking in Oreos. So, something different, kind of nice to produce a product made in Canada all the way around, right from start to finish on the farms. So, we'll catch you next time. I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Talk to you later, guys.